it's Allie Marie King, and we are back with Lake of Voices. It's been a while since I played it. I'm not sure if it's been a while since we've seen it. I don't know how many people have watched it. I like this one. I'm excited to get forward. So anyway, let's jump in and get started and see where we go, because we're still in the mist. We haven't even gotten to a town we're going to yet. The guide takes us further inland, more towards the center. There's a view of the coastline from here, but we're also partially obscured by a few trees.
It's time to sleep.
No one has the energy to argue with him at this moment. I find a place as comfortable as one could ask for in a location like this. Next to one of the trees further out and lay down, trying to block out my thoughts. For once, exhaustion is my ally, and I slip off into sleep. My eyes slowly blink open and readjust to the brightness, what little there is. The sun is obscured by a thick layer of fog, making it impossible to estimate the time of day. I prop up my elbows and push myself up. The ground is hard and rocky, but that isn't the only reason I am eager to get on my feet. I check my surroundings. The harsh, craggy earth of the island is interlaced with twisting vines and gnarled branches. Beside me, Bemele and Lou are still fast asleep. The guide, however, is nowhere to be seen. I realize that I don't recall seeing him lay down with everyone. It's likely he left us hours ago. There's a creeping silence here. I can't help but shudder at the hollow, aching feeling inside of me. It refuses to relent. I shift my weight back and forth, unsure of what to do with myself. Memories of last night's harrowing journey flicker through my mind. Bemele wakes suddenly, rising with alarm and startling Lou awake as well. My mouth opens, then shuts, and after a moment of fumbling, a word finally escapes. Bemele gives me a gentle smile and makes his way over to me. Behind him, Lou remains on the ground.
Morning.
A pocket of quiet descends over us. Bemele sighs. The atmosphere is weighing on him already.
We should eat something soon. I don't trust what is on this island, so I'll have to split my supplies with Lou.
I still have a few rations left. I'd be happy to contribute.
Don't worry about me. I'm fine. I'm not hungry.
Lou's back is turned against us. He still hasn't gotten up out of the dirt.
You should eat. You have to keep your energy up for the day ahead.
Bemele speaks encouragingly, like he's coaxing a nervous horse. Lou buries his head deeper into his knees as he curls into a tighter ball.
No, thanks.
Bemele lets slip a small chuckle.
Well, it seems I've lost my role as the childish one around here.
I look at Bemele and smile weakly at him. However, he's now frowning hard. I understand Lou does not know what he speaks of, and the one who would isn't here. A distinct rustling of the leaves around catches my attention. The guide appears, emerging from the thicket. Bemele glares at him as he makes his way over. Lou doesn't seem to notice as he's still facing away.
Nixie will not tread on land in daylight. However, being near the shoreline is still dangerous. If you leave the center of the island, remain cautious. Before the sun sets, I will be in this area. It would be wise to meet me here before nightfall.
Why didn't you stay with us last night?
I sharply turn towards Bemele as he snarls and confronts the
If you
guide.
had just been there, none of this would have happened. She didn't have to die.
The guide stands unflinching and completely unaffected.
If all you're going to do is leave everyone to be lost, then why bother guiding us at all?
Despite Bemele's severe words, the guide apparently considers this piece here finished. He turns towards the forested area from which he came.
Wait!
Bemele calls out to the guide, reaching towards him before he can make contact. I quickly place a hand on his shoulder. He lowers his arm to his side, though I can still feel wrath emanating from him. We stay this way until the guide disappears from view. Bemele begins to kick at the ground, spraying tiny pieces of gravel about.
Bemele, I know you're angry, but regardless of our feelings, we need the guide. If he leaves us, we'll all die.
Yeah,
We've done so well with him.
Better than that. I give him a cold glance. We won't even know which bridge to take without the guide. Bemele knows that. This needs to stop. There are people counting on us to make it back. And what of Lou?
We can't afford to lose our way.
Yeah, that's right. The anger etched into his expression fades into
You're
sadness.
right, Kika. You're right.
Yeah, Bemele, calm your shit. He weakly swats his hand in front of his face as if he is trying to shoo away his racing thoughts.
I can't stay here right now.
I nod, allowing him to leave alone. Lou meekly calls to me. I turn around to face him, though I don't speak. He's standing some distance away. He fidgets and glances over to the side. Before returning his gaze to my eyes, he gestures for me to come closer. I comply. He begins to whisper to me, but he fumbles with his words and I can't make out anything he says. I look at him inquisitively. Finally, he speaks up enough to be
I'm
clear.
sorry for what happened last night.
He speaks quickly as he looks up at me. Eyes filled with sorrow, he shifts his focus
You
downwards.
would have been better off without me.
Oh,
Do you
come
mean
on.
when I had to stay behind?
Yes, you and your friend were almost completely abandoned. You got caught up in the fire, and it was a disaster.
It's all right. Nothing happened in the end. Besides, it isn't your fault that things turned out this way.
It was closer to being my fault than anyone else's. I wasn't supposed to be here, and all I did was get in the way. The guide was right about me. I knew from the beginning that it would be like this too. I never should have stayed.
Finishing his thought, he sniffles as he turns away. Suddenly, I feel a strong surge of emotions rip through me. Everything is falling apart, and I do not have the power to change this. Quietly, I speak. Lou stops moving. He doesn't turn to face me. I hesitate as well, also unsure of how
Would
to proceed.
you be willing to speak with me?
He turns around to face me, and his eyes are brimming with tears. He
I
smiles
could
slightly.
do that.
I find the will to smile lightly back at him. Lou walks closer to me, then pauses. After watching me for a moment, he turns his eyes to the ground, waiting for me to do something. I just stare at him, unsure. After a brief silence, I finally
Lou.
sigh.
Can I ask you a difficult question?
He flinches.
I don't think I'm the person you want to ask difficult questions.
No one else can answer this one. It's about you.
Oh, in that case, I'm really not the kind of person to give good answers.
By his tone, it seems like he's trying to make light of the situation. But to me, it still just sounds
I
sad.
understand.
He squeezes his eyes shut and gives no reply. Despite being clearly frustrated, it doesn't look like it's me he's upset with. Soon, he reopens his eyes, looking directly
you
at
can
me.
ask me anything. I'll try to answer. But I hope you have a lot of patience.
He smiles
Thank
slightly.
So, what do you want to know?
Have you lost someone in the lake?
Lou stumbles back a step from shock.
I'm sorry for prying, but when we found you, it seemed like you were apologizing to someone. And the way you've acted since makes me think that something is wrong. Something beyond even being out on Sinlos.
I give him a sympathetic look. Why am I even asking him this question? Do I really want to help him? Or am I trying to forget what happened to us by talking about someone else's misfortune? When Lou speaks, his voice is barely above a whisper.
Hate myself. I can't do anything.
You don't have to say anymore. I was wrong to ask you about it.
His brows are furrowed and he smiles in a self-deprecating way.
I'm sorry.
Lou laughs sharply at himself.
Don't be. I'm not worth the concern.
How can you say that? What have you done that was wrong in this moment? It was only my mistake.
You think that because you don't know?
I do not believe you.
Lou's eyes bore into
I'm not
me.
upset because I lost someone out here. I'm upset because I can't bring myself to lie about it.
What?
You gave me the perfect opportunity to cover up the pathetic truth of what actually happened. All I had to do was go along with your assumption. But when you're so direct, I can't keep my thoughts hidden. I'm too afraid of making a mistake and having the lie uncovered somehow.
He stares back at the ground and
Why do I
sighs.
have to be so terrible at this?
Bewilderment rings through my mind, one ear to the other. His words stir all sorts of baffling jumbled emotions in me that battle it out for supremacy as I gawk. Lou is... I don't know. Without looking up, Lou shakes his head.
See? You shouldn't waste your sympathies on someone like me. You should have left me to die.
Like a shot, my anger
Pull
flares up.
yourself together. I didn't leave you behind before, and I'm not going to do so now. The best thing you can do to help is put those kinds of thoughts in the back of your mind.
Ow.
Or what? I won't make it to the other side?
Lou laughs bitterly. His smile almost
If
cruel.
I thought joining you was a way to stay alive, I would have acted much differently. The only reason I came along is because I thought it might be nice to not die alone and forgotten.
My words sputter and die on my tongue. Lou continues his speech, ignoring
The
my
guide
reaction.
really didn't know what he was saying before. I asked him if I could go out on the bridges in the past. He told me not to. Said I couldn't handle it. I'm not sorry for ignoring the warning. This was something I had to do. This was my only chance to prove I'm not worthless. Or to finally accept that I was, once and for all. And we know what the truth is.
Stop.
Yeah, let's keep going this one. I can no longer keep idly listening to him speak. Ooh. Oops. It doesn't have to be this way. You said yourself that it isn't over until it's completely over. There's still a possibility that...
No, there isn't.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to right-click when I was clicking. My blood pounds in my veins. Instinctively, I place both my hands on his tightly wrapped upper arms.
I don't know what has happened to you, but if there's something you need to do, you can try again tomorrow night. You don't need to give up. You have value.
Lou closes his eyes again and smiles to himself. I maintain my grip on him, waiting for his response.
Alright. I'll try to stay alive, if you'll do something for me.
What is it?
Don't put yourself in danger for my sake anymore.
My fingers curl harder around his thin arms, wishing I could argue further, but I don't know what is going on in his head, and I might push him back into giving up. I don't have the luxury of trying to reach him a second time. I release him and take a step
Fine.
back.
I'll accept those terms.
For
Good.
now.
Now you might survive.
You need to survive too.
He laughs.
Goes without saying.
Lou smiles teasingly. His attitude is still difficult for me to grasp, but I attempt to smile in return.
I know you don't want anything to happen to anyone else. That is admirable.
Lou says nothing, however I do feel my words reached him. I wish he would let me help him, but I cannot find the way to do so. I can only trust that he will do his best to take care of himself now. It's better than him planning to let it end. I sigh wearily, and yet somehow feel as though my resolve has been strengthened, at least for
I'm
now.
going to head out. I want to see how everything is on the island.
I'll make it easier by coming along. Then you won't ever have to check on me.
This time, I am able to smile
That would be
easily.
good.
Happy to help.
He readily moves beside me, and together we move out. Lou and I head through the wooded part of the island. There isn't anything that could be called a path, but we managed to pick our way through the bush quite well. Through a thinner stand of trees, we briefly catch a sight of the guide standing on one of the beaches. He seems fine, but even though I'm sure he turned his head toward me, he makes no show of acknowledging us. We move on and eventually find Bamele in a jagged clearing, leaning against a tree. He's already noticed us and is looking our way, smiling. As we get closer, I can pick up on the sadness behind his jovial expression.
How are you faring? Any problems?
Everything is fine. We came to check on you.
How kind. I've calmed down since then.
I'm glad to hear that. Is there any way I can help or anything you'd like to say?
He raises an eyebrow at that, his grin becoming markedly
I
playful.
didn't expect to see you so worried about me, Kika.
I have to force myself not to avert my eyes at that comment, embarrassment flowing into me. Unexpectedly, Lou speaks up in a soft but penetrating
I
voice.
think she always cared. You just didn't notice.
BAM! For just a moment, Bamele's mouth levels into a thin line, but in a blink, he's smirking
That
again.
could be. It makes sense.
He turns his beaming face towards me, and I hesitantly return a smile, albeit as a much smaller one than his. Out of the corner of my eye, I notice Lou is timidly smiling my way, too. Bamele glances between Lou and I, noticing something between us. He does not mention it, however. Instead, he throws his arms out wide with a sour expression.
Have you seen the guide?
Bamele is clearly asking out of a sense of obligation and makes no secret that he's not pleased to be discussing the guide. I nod in response.
I saw him earlier. He is the same as always.
Good, good. In that case, I'm going to stretch my legs for a bit. I feel stiff from standing in one place for so long.
Lou and I both bid him a brief goodbye. Bamele waves as he departs.
It's good to know the others are well.
We have nothing to do with our time now. Even I can't ignore the wistful tone in my voice. Something is tugging at my heart, trying to tear a piece away. Lou seems uncomfortable with my lowering mood. He stares out into the woods rather than at me.
I think I'll go to the shore.
His words snap me back hard to hard reality.
What? Why?
I saw something earlier that I'd like to check out.
The shoreline is dangerous. Whatever you saw could not be worth the risk.
Lou actually laughs, a sudden sound that's so close to snickering as it is to sputtering.
Watching a Nyx drag itself across the shore in the middle of the day would be worth the danger, in my opinion.
I give him a humorless, reprimanding look. I feel vaguely like I have used this face to dissuade pets and young children from behaving poorly in the past.
I was only joking.
Thankfully, it seems to work on grown men as well. I hope he is telling the truth, for someone is so nervous he can be quite
I'm
reckless.
still going, though. Don't worry. I'll be careful. We talked about this.
He gives me a self-effacing, lopsided
You said
smile.
you didn't want to make me watch out for you.
I'll be back soon. You won't even notice.
I sigh. Part of me wants to keep lecturing him on how serious this is. I just want him to be safe, but I fear I don't have the words to convey that without making the situation worse.
Fine.
I will come. Lou brightens.
Of course you can come.
We're gonna have romance, Lou, I
I'd
think.
enjoy that.
I get the feeling he was hoping I would say that. It is not as though I don't want to be around him. The farthest thing from it. It's the activity itself that's the problem. Despite my reservations, we head to the beach. Lou strides easily across the sand, his bare feet sinking down in the loose grains as he stretches his arms contentedly.
It's so much nicer out here.
I make sure to stay close behind him, just in case. I would not want him to go off on his own. Lou notices my position out of the corner of his eye. He isn't so distracted that he's forgotten I'm here, it seems. He takes a wide step back, so we are side by side instead. I can't help but be surprised by his assertiveness, and it makes me grin
You
nervously.
know what I mean, right?
Yes. The shore has its positives.
I find it hard to navigate the loose sand in my boots, but Lou has little trouble here. There are only a few ragged bandages wrapped around his bare feet. I have to wonder how he has been faring thus far. The forest floor is rock hard and full of thorns. I clandestinely check for any signs of bleeding. Thankfully, there are no traces of it. It also does not escape me that losing one's shoe is an uncommon occurrence. They must have been stolen, or did he not have any to begin with? Between my swirling thoughts and Lou's quiet self-assurance, we have walked in silence for a bit. This should be a good chance to ask questions about his life, where he comes from, what he does for work, if he has any other family. However, I cannot help but assume he would shrink away from such attention. Lou catches my gaze and inclines his head, a whisper of a smirk on his lips.
Is there anything on your mind? Something you'd like to ask me, maybe?
Oh,
Yes, I'm surprised you brought attention to it.
Lou snickers in a self-aware sort of
When
way.
you're as suspicious as I am, it's pretty easy to guess that people will have questions.
I smile faintly. His openness is certainly appreciated, but the look fades as quickly as it appeared. I turn away.
I think I've asked you enough questions.
Lou's expression sinks into melancholy. He holds my eyes in his own, tightly locked and refusing to let go. Then he speaks unbidden.
I've done odd jobs most of my life. The only title you could say I've had is messenger boy.
He hangs his head in embarrassment over his achievements and begins to drift further away.
That is nothing to be ashamed of. Information is meaningless if it is not with those who can use it. There are far less honorable ways of making a living in this world.
I can think of some too. Some that I've done.
His words are mumbled, so it takes a moment for them to sink in. I'm not sure what to say, so I settle on closing some of the distance between us in an attempt to console him. Admittedly, I expected as much. His jitteriness and defensive posture are typical of a petty criminal. I imagine he's had a tough life. The warmth between us melts the dark mood that was beginning to form. A teasingly crooked smile blooms on Lou's face as he relaxes again.
Thank you.
I didn't say anything.
That's what I'm grateful for.
At that, I am able to chuckle and give a bent grin in
It is
return.
no trouble.
Lou turns his head away bashfully and lifts his hand, steadily inching it towards me. My pulse starts to race. He lets it drop before he touches me. It is a relief as well as a disappointment. Once again, silence falls between us. Suddenly, Lou begins running forwards. There is nothing ahead of us. I am completely caught off guard and left momentarily dumbfounded. I shout after him to come back, concern rising in my chest. He keeps up the pace, but turns his head back to look at me, it's almost as if he's enjoying this. After a short sprint, he comes to a stop. As I reach him, he bends down and carefully picks something up off the sand. It's a strange, beautiful
Isn't
shell.
it amazing? I wonder if other lakes have shells like this.
not able to stop myself from sighing.
I don't know. Is that what you were expecting to find?
It is. I like shells. The world is so dreary. Any flowers that bloom will wither and die in days without attention. I can't find a way to appreciate such fleeting things. It's only sad.
As he speaks, his voice descends into despair, dropping so low I almost don't make out what he says. I cannot think that why this shell is impacting him so profoundly, but I want to comfort him, somehow regardless of if I can fully comprehend
Shells are
him.
beautiful and they can persevere. That is something I respect.
That is what I can respect.
It is good you were able to find what you were searching for.
I think so too.
He lets himself remain lost in his moment for a second longer, then gently offers his meaningful shell to me.
Why don't you keep it? It can be a reminder of me.
Ooh. I have no idea on what to say. Those words seem so harmless and yet foreboding. Despite my silence, he continues to hold the shell out for me to take. Cautiously, I reach up to accept the gift, afraid that a wrong move would somehow hurt the shell or even him. When I have it, Lou places both his hands over my hand and the shell.
Thank you for coming with me.
He continues to make it difficult to speak. It takes some effort to hide the bashfulness in my
It was
voice.
no trouble, Lou. Really. Thank you for this. However, even if you didn't give it to me, I would not forget you.
He looks happier than I've ever seen him as he presses my hands more tightly.
I'm so glad I met you.
Likewise. I'm happy we crossed paths.
I know, he's a little bit of a baby,
I
but
hope that will never change. If you think of me from time to time, it would make this all worthwhile.
even if it is a more generous view of this than I would give, I relish his statement. Lou is finally showing some optimism towards life. I still am unsure why Lou came here to begin with, but it eases my mind to think that he may not have to regret the choice. Lou pulls away, locking a door I barely peeked inside.
We can head back to the forest now.
Right. That is for the best since we still need to rest before sundown. We will take the smoothest route back to the clearing.
Do I look so fragile?
I'm not impressed with his attempt at humor and look squarely at him as I speak, my voice completely deadpan.
Anyone would have trouble with no shoes.
I figured someone like you would say I needed to toughen up.
I shake my head fondly. His elusive way of speaking has grown on
Come on, we should go.
Together we return to the woods. In what feels like no time, we enter the clearing. The melee arrives at almost the same time and greets
I
us.
heard you two coming and thought it best if I came to join you.
Alright, things here for today. It looks like we're romancing Lou. I wasn't expecting that at the beginning of the conversations. I was just trying to stop him from killing himself, but now we're growing closer. I kind of was interested in Bemele, but I guess we're just gonna... I don't know if there's romance in this. I'm assuming there is, so, you know. But anyway, if you like this video, please leave a like. If you know someone who'd be interested in this type of content, please share it. And if you want more of this content, please subscribe. I will be uploading a visual novel every Monday. I have 10 different ones that I do at one given time, just for funsies. So this one will come around again if you are interested in it. I promise it will be here. There are other visual novels if you are interested in those as well. I have playlists. Yeah. Anyway, hopefully I will see you guys next time. Bye.